class 12th, subject physics, 8th chapter, electrostatics. From the chapter, let us see some of the formulae. First formula is for Gauss law. Gauss law in electrostatics, mathematically it will be given as electric flux phi is equal to charge q upon permittivity of the medium epsilon 0. Phi equal to q upon epsilon 0, which will be further given as integration over closed path factory dot vector ds, where factory represents electric field and ds is the surface area, and therefore integration over closed path factory dot vector ds, which will be written as integration over closed path eds cos theta, eds cos theta. Second formula gives the total charge on the surface of a sphere of radius r. The total charge present on the surface of a sphere of radius r will be given as total charge q is equal to sigma into 4 pi r square. Sigma into 4 pi r square, where this sigma is surface charge density, that is charge per unit area, that is sigma is equal to q by a, that is charge per unit area. For sphere, the surface area is 4 pi r square, and therefore sigma will be equal to charge upon surface area, that is q upon 4 pi r square. Then third formula gives the electric field intensity due to uniformly charged sphere. If any sphere is uniformly charged, then the electric field intensity E is given as E equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q by r square. 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q by r square. In terms of surface charge density, it will be given as sigma r square upon epsilon 0 r square, sigma r square upon epsilon 0 r square. This r will represent radius of that sphere, and this r will represent distance of that point at which we have to find out electric field intensity. Then in this case, there will be two cases. First case, on the surface of this sphere, if that point is taken on the surface of this sphere, then at that time electric field intensity E is equal to sigma upon epsilon 0. E is equal to sigma upon epsilon 0, because in this case radius of the sphere will be equal to distance of that point, that is this r will be equal to r, and therefore E will be equal to only sigma upon epsilon 0. Instead of that, if we consider second case, that is inside the sphere, if any point is taken inside the sphere, then at that time, at that point electric field intensity E will be equal to 0, because no charges are present inside the sphere. So all the charges will be spread on the outer surface of the sphere. No charge will be present inside the sphere, and therefore electric field intensity inside the sphere will be equal to 0. Then fourth formula gives electric field intensity due to charge plate. Electric field intensity due to charge plate. So that electric field intensity due to charge plate E is equal to sigma upon 2 epsilon 0. Sigma upon 2 epsilon 0, that is electric field intensity E is equal to sigma upon 2 epsilon 0. Then fifth formula gives electric field intensity due to infinitely long straight conductor. If any infinitely long straight conductor is taken, then due to that conductor electric field intensity E is equal to q upon 2 pi epsilon 0 RL. Q upon 2 pi epsilon 0 RL, which will be further written as lambda upon 2 pi epsilon 0 R. Lambda upon 2 pi epsilon 0 R, where lambda is the linear charge density, that is charge per unit length of that conductor, that is lambda is equal to Q by L. Then sixth formula gives for a single charge, if you consider any isolated charge or single charge, then electric potential due to that single charge will be given as phi is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q by R. So at a distance R from that charge or isolated charge, electric potential phi will be equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q by R. Then seventh formula gives the electric potential due to electric dipole. So instead of single or isolated charge, if you consider two equal and opposite charges which forms the electric dipole, then for that electric dipole, the electric potential phi will be equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 p cos theta upon r square. 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 p cos theta upon r square, where this p is the electric dipole moment, which is given as p is equal to q into 2l. P is the electric dipole moment, and therefore the electric potential is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 p cos theta upon r square. Again, in this case there will be two cases. If we consider any axial point, then at any axial point phi axis will be equal to plus minus 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q by r square. Phi axis is equal to plus minus 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q by r square. Now here plus minus sign is taken because theta may be either 0 or 180 degree. 0 degree or 180 degree. If it is 0 degree, then it will be plus. If it is 180 degree, then it will be minus. So in this formula, and therefore if you consider the second case, that is at any equatorial point, so at any equatorial point phi equatorial will be equal to 0, since theta will be equal to 90 degree for this formula, and therefore theta is equal to 90 degree for any equatorial point. Then next formula, that is eighth formula, gives the electrostatic potential energy for two charges. So electrostatic potential energy for two charges is given as U is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q1 q2 upon r. U is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q1 q2 upon r. Then ninth formula gives the potential energy of an electric dipole. Potential energy of an electric dipole in an external electric field. If any external electric field is present, then the potential energy of that electric dipole is given as U equal to Pe cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. Pe into cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. Theta 1 will be the initial angle, theta 2 will be the final angle. Then 10th formula gives for n capacitors, if there are n capacitors connected in series having their capacities C1, C2 up to Cn, and if these capacitors are connected in series, then their equivalent capacitance is given as 1 upon C equivalent is equal to 1 upon C1 plus 1 upon C2 plus 1 upon Cn. So this is the equivalent capacitance in case of series combination of n capacitors. Now for n capacitors of equal capacitance C, if all these capacitors are having their capacities as C, then 1 upon C equivalent will be equal to n upon C, because it will be 1 by C plus 1 by C plus n times 1 by C, that is equal to n by C, or C equivalent capacitance C will be equal to C by n. Equivalent capacitance C by n. So from this relation it is clear that if the capacitors are connected in series, then their equivalent capacitance will decrease. Then 11th formula gives for n capacitors connected in parallel. If again n capacitors are there having their capacity C1, C2 up to Cn, and if they are connected in parallel, then their equivalent capacitance C equivalent will be equal to C1 plus C2 plus Cn. And therefore, if for n capacitors of equal capacitance C, if all the capacitors are having their capacitance equal to C, then and when they are connected in parallel, then C equivalent will be equal to NC. C equivalent will be equal to NC. From this we can say that if the capacitors are connected in parallel, then their equivalent capacitance increases. Then 12th formula gives the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. If you consider a parallel plate capacitor and if it is without dielectrics, if no dielectric material is filled between its plates, at that time its capacity C is equal to A epsilon 0 upon D. Without any dielectrics, capacity of the parallel plate capacitor C will be equal to A epsilon 0 upon D. On the other hand, for this capacitor, for this parallel plate capacitor, when it is partially filled with dielectrics, if it is partially filled with dielectric material, then its capacity C is equal to A epsilon 0 upon D minus T plus T by K. D minus T plus T by K, where D will be distance of separation between the two plates, T will be the thickness of that dielectrics, and K will be dielectric constant, and therefore C will be equal to A epsilon 0 upon D minus T plus T by K. And if it is fully filled, if the space between the two plates of that capacitor is fully filled with the dielectrics, then capacity C will be equal to A epsilon 0K upon D. A epsilon 0K upon D. This will be the capacity of that parallel plate capacitor. Then 13th formula gives energy stored in a capacitor. Energy stored in a capacitor. If you consider the parallel plate capacitor, then the energy stored in that capacitor will be given as half Q square by C, half Q square by C, or it is equal to half CV square, half CV square, or it is equal to half QV, half QV. So energy stored in the capacitor U is equal to half Q square by C, or half CV square, or half QV. Then 14th formula gives the mechanical force per unit area acting on a charge conductor. If any charge conductor is there, then mechanical force per unit area acting on that charge conductor is given by the formula F is equal to sigma square upon 2 epsilon. Sigma square upon 2 epsilon. Putting the value of sigma is equal to E into epsilon, we will get it as half epsilon 0 K E square, half epsilon 0 K E square, or half epsilon E square, where epsilon will be equal to epsilon 0 K. So force per unit area F is equal to sigma square upon 2 epsilon, or which will be equal to half epsilon 0 K E square. Similarly, 15th formula gives the potential energy per unit volume. Potential energy per unit volume of the medium, which is also called as energy density of the medium. Potential energy per unit volume of the medium, that is energy density of the medium, that is du by dV. Energy per unit volume, that will be equal to again half epsilon 0 K E square, half epsilon 0 K E square. That is for mechanical force per unit area acting on the charge conductor, and the potential energy per unit volume of the medium, that is energy density, are the same, that is half epsilon 0 K E square, half epsilon 0 K E square. So these are some of the formulae from this chapter electrostatics.